Erev Tisha B'Av. We are learning the Gemara from Motzei Tisha B'Av. We're learning the Gemara from Wednesday. So we basically were discussing here if a man, the Mishnah said a man has no chazak on a wife's property, but so we inferred, but he does have a raya if he brings a star. Even though we do have a concept called that a woman can say, "Look, I just wanted to please my husband, and that's why I went along with it." So we said that applies everywhere except nichse malaik. It doesn't apply by nichse malaik because it's her property that she brought into the marriage and that he works it and he gets the parish, but she still owns it, and therefore she had no reason to go along with it. Then we introduced a meimar, where a meimar said that if a man or a woman sells, if the man and the woman sell the nichse malaik, nothing happens. So we see that even nichse malaik, we have this principle that she can say, "I just did it please my husband." So the first answer the Gemara gave, which we learned yesterday, that a meimar meant if the husband sells on his own or the wife sells on her own. But if they sell it together, or if she sells it to him, which is the main point of our mission, if she sells it to him, then it's a good sale because nobody can force her to sell her own property to him. They're up to now the boy saying about 7 lines on the bottom. Another way of understanding a meimar. The boy is Meimar is saying, look, the Mishnah does say that a woman, if she sells, if a man has a chazaka on the nichse maloi because he should have protested. And Meimar says that even nichse maloi, the sale is not a sale, which means that a woman or a wife can say, look, I just did it to leave a husband. So Meimar is going to say this relates to another machlekes, nothing to do with the principle of whether she's pleasing her husband or not, but rather a whole different principle. A whole Gemara we had a machlekes Shlokish Rabbi Yochanan, and now it's a machlekes here tonight. But that is, every item there's the object itself, which is known as kinyan haguf, and then there's kinyan peidos, which is the hishtamshus of the object, the use of the object. And what happens if you? So what happens if one person bought the rights to use the object, but another person actually owns the object? So who is the owner? Who's the owner? So there's a machlekes tanaim, and this is to do with the din of by an eved. If you there's a din that if you kill an eved kanani, an eved kanani is a full-fledged yid, so you're chayiv misa. But if you're the owner, if you're the master, the Torah says that the Torah says that if a day or two goes by, and what do you call it? He was all right, and 3 days later he passes away, then you are potter if you're the master. But if anybody else, even a year later, he passes away as a direct result of the blows that you gave him, you're chayiv misa. Why it says Yemayim if a phrase says Yom? So Rashi and Chumash says, and Facebook brings it down here as well. Rashi says that a Yom that's like Yemayim. You need a full me'esel, you need a full 24 hours. You don't say, oh, there's 6 hours left to the day, and the next day is a new day. Says the Gemara, you say what a meimar says over here, that a husband or a wife cannot sell it. A whole different part. A meimar is following the view of Rabbi Lazar. There are 4 views. This is the case. The time we learn. If somebody sells a slave, Reuven sells a slave to Shimon. And then Reuven made up for Shimon. You know what? For the next 30 days, even though you're the Bava Basra, do you mind if the slave remains with me? Because I have a lot of work for him still to do. So, who now is the owner? Shimon, the new owner. But who now has the use of the slave? Reuben. So therefore, the question is, if somebody gives him a final blow, the first Bava Basra or the second Bava Basra, are they considered the master as far as the exemption of by Rabbi Yemayim? If he's all right, then afterwards you are potter. So somebody sells a slave, and he made up with him to work for him on 3 days. Meir says that who has the din, who is still the din of the master? Yeshna is what is Yom Yamayim. So Achim Yom Yamayim Yamad. If this ever can walk around for a day or two, and even though afterwards he collapses and passes away, you're potter. So who's the balabas? Meir says. The first guy, even though all he has is the right to use it now because he unsold the etzeminion. Because why? Because it's still considered tachtav. The pasuk says, as long as if it's under him, he is potter. So this is still considered under him. But if the second guy gives the Eved a blow and kills him, why? Because he's not tachtav, not under him. Yeah. It says in the pasuk, "V'meis tachas yodin." The problem is the pasuk says two things. On one part it says v'meis tachas yodei. Tachas means who is under the balabas. Another part says ki kaspihu, which sounds like more. It's your money. So it's a problem. Which part of the pasuk do you place the stress on? Because really, whose kaspa is it? The second guy's. But whose tachtav is it? The first guy's. So Meir says that forget the psukim. It's kinyan. I'm going to kinyan peitis. Because somebody else kinyan peitis kinyan dami. You can even say tachtav on the first guy because he owns it. That's a Meir. And in the Rishonim explain this a little bit different than the normal case of Shlach Shav Yechon. We talk about kinyan peitis kinyan guf. Because over here, the first guy owned it till now. And now he's continuing what he had before. So there's more of an ownership here. Even if you hold gently kinyan peitis lavke kinyan aguf, I'm buying from you only the right to use it. But over here, the guy mamish owned it till now. And now he's continuing another 30 days. So his kinyan peitis is far stronger than a normal kinyan peitis. Rabbi Yehuda says, Hasheni, the second guy, yesh to be in your mind. The second guy is the balabas. It says the pasuk ki kaspehu. So he is the owner. Harishan ain't in your mind. Ain't the kaspe. Let's put the stress on the word kaspe, not the word tachta, but the word kaspe. But why? So it must be more to it. Because he holds that kinyan peitis lavke kinyan aguf dami. The Meir holds that kinyan peitis kinyan dami. So really, you're both. You're tachta, and in a way you can still say like kaspa because mami babas. And he says no. Kinyan peitis lavke kinyan. You have no ownership. You only have use of it. You don't have any ownership. You only have ishtamshus. Rabbi Yossi says, Shneim yeshnem in your mind. The first balabas and the second balabas. How can both be balabatim? There's only one owner, because he says it's a suffix. We don't know which part of the pasuk we should stress. Should we stress the kasbihu or should we stress the tachtav? And therefore, a suffix is lahakum. It's not clear why you're going to go after one pasuk after another. It has more to do with the halacha of who's the owner, and we have a rule. The suffix is lahakum, and lahakum. And Rashi says, because in the pasuk Rashbam, the shaftu eda v'tzilated. It's very interesting. Cases throughout Bava Basra, when he quotes many times, he quotes Rashbam, he says Pirush HaKonsis, which either means that he had Rashi's pshat, even though it's very similar to the Rashbam. It says that the Rashbam wrote a Pirush on the Gemara, and he brought a wagon. It doesn't say which Masechta it was. He brought a whole wagon full of his manuscripts to his Zayda to show him. When Rashi went out, and he's so proud of the Rashbam that he made a whole wagon full of his Pirush. It says in the story that Rashi went over and he lit a fire and burnt the whole thing. He says, you have to be short. Rashi himself wrote 3 Pirushim on the Gemara. First one was a bit longer, then shorter. And that's why he's called Kuntus, because it's full of Kuntus, full of manuscript. And sometimes it Taisus, quite often, Taisus quotes Rashi that we don't really have, because Taisus saw the second version, not the third version, and that's why he does it. But interesting, he says Kuntus. Yeah. That's right. Exactly. But so it's interesting. It seems that there was a pshat in Rashi and Bava Basra here, because even right here, you could call Rashbam and call it Kuntis, and we don't find that anywhere. I'm only going to find it here, but it's
maybe he collected more.
All other Rishonim doesn't call Kuntis, and you just calls. Okay, right. Rabbi Lazar says, fourth opinion. Shneim Egriyamai, neither of them are considered the owner. Zel is not his. In other words, in order to be the owner, you have to have Sai Balabatoshkeit and the Etzeminian, and Sai you have to have the right, exclusive right to use. And therefore you're not a balabas. Oh, so neither of them balabas. So it comes along a man and says the same problem with a man and a woman. The man has the paytas. In the Mitzvah Maloig, when she brings it to a marriage, if she's a balabas, she owns the property itself, but she can't use it. The paytas belong to her husband. The husband has the paytas, but he doesn't have the thing. So therefore, when Ameimar said that neither of them can sell it, even together, is because neither of them are balabas. Neither are balabas. If you don't have exclusive, you're not a balabas. It's not yours to sell. It doesn't matter why. So, but the fact is, it's definitely not his fees, but it's his shtamshus. That's the point. It doesn't matter why, but the poil, who has the right to use the field? In fact, he can sell it. He can sell the paytas until he, as long as he has access to the property. He has exclusive use of that paytas. So yishtamshus. So therefore, the main is saying, according to Rabbi Lazar, he can't sell. So according to Rabbi Lazar, how can Shutrin ever sell a property or anything else? So there's a difference, big difference in shutfus and the case of Evid. Is a horizontal shutfus or a vertical shutfus? A normal shutfus is a vertical shutfus. You both own the paytas and the etzim, but half of it. Here, one person owns 100% of the paytas, and the other person owns 100% of the etzim Evid, and that's a problem. The goof, and that's a problem. Says my time, but what's his father? Oh, my present pasuk. Lo yukum ki kaspi kaspi yuchelo. It has to be exclusively yours. Then the Mishnah continues. We're continuing going through the Mishnah. A man has no chazaka on the estate of his wife. Now, it's her estate. Why would he have a chazaka? Of course, he would. She wouldn't protest because it's her husband. So first we asked a question. Rav said, "Eish is ish shricha limchais." Rav said that an eish is ish should be moichen. If she's not, she should protest. And if she doesn't protest against the husband, she loses the land. That means that there is a chazaka by a woman. So now let's understand. Who is, when he says a woman should be moichen, is it against her husband or against the general population? The man. Against the general population, not for her husband. Nobody can ever make a chazak on the estate of a woman because she says, I relied on my husband to protest. So I didn't protest. The fact I didn't protest doesn't prove that I cede to you that the property belongs to you. So obviously Rav is not talking about that. Rav is saying that she should have protested. So who we're talking about? Elulav Bebal. So clearly Rav holds that a husband could have a chazaka against his wife. And yet, from our mission, it seems that a woman is not moichen, and therefore a husband cannot have a chazak against his wife. Omar Rava says, Rava, you're right. Generally speaking, if the husband is working in the field for 3 years and she doesn't protest, proves nothing. But he told about he didn't cultivate the field; he ruined the field. He went ahead and ruined the field. He made holes and pits and everything else, caves. And because he ruined the field, she should have said something. If she didn't say something, and he tiny as I bought it from you. That's a good value. Generally speaking, ain't chazakah in zikin. There's no if you're causing damage and you can't say, oh, but it's mine because he didn't protest. Can't say, oh, I bought it from you because I had a chazakah for 3 years. You know what the Bava Basra say? The reason why I didn't protest is because you didn't use the field for its normal use. Doesn't that prove that you always knew that the field wasn't yours? And says I wasn't using it to make a big deal out of it. Because you did not use it the normal way, that's not a chazakah. So what do you tell me on Maisa Dadav when he's talking about that as a chazakah by a husband to his wife is when you ruin the field. There's no chazakah there at all. So the Gemara says, let's say, ein din chazakah l'nezikin. What do you mean no din of chazakah? He meant something else completely. Normal chazakah is 3 years. But if I'm damaging your thing, even 5 minutes, you should have said something. And therefore, there's no din. You don't have to wait for the 3 years to say, I can say after 1 day, I bought it from you, but I'm ruining your field. And the guy says nothing. Nothing to do with Rahav's case over here. Others go further than Ban, and others try and learn. Ein din chazakah means that by Nezikin, that you don't even have to have a taina, I bought it from you. I can say you were moichel me. Normally we say that you need a chazakah with a taina. And just the fact that I was here for a long time and he didn't say anything is garnished. But over here by the zikin, there's such a strong chazaka that you don't even need a taina. There's such a strong chazaka that there's an open mechila. Nobody watches somebody ruining his property and says and remains and says, "Mom, this doesn't happen." Another way of learning is Ramadi says, what do you mean there's no chazaka by Nazikin? Paket. We learned this before in the Gemara. What do you mean there's no chazaka by Nazikin? That we're talking about over here when there's smoke going in an oven. You have an oven there, and I allowed you to have the oven. But there's so much smoke, and eventually I can't take it anymore. You can't say, "Oh, but you all this time you let me have it." Yeah, true, but there's no chazaka because a certain time in my life I just can't bear it anymore. People change. As Reed said, the basic kisei, terrible stench, and above the ground the basic kisei, and therefore, even though I allowed you to have it for a long time, now I can't take it anymore. Rabbi says, no, we're not talking about the husband here. Going back to what Rav said, we're talking about a friend. A friend. You can't have chazaka. The woman should have said, "I relied on my husband." We're talking about let's say 1 or 2 years while the husband was alive, he had a chazaka because he's going to have a taina. I bought it. Now, who did you buy it from? You didn't buy it, so you bought it from the husband, and I started chazaka then. The sholish, but you need 3 years lacha misabal. And why is he believed? He could have said, I bought it from you, directly from you, and I have a chazaka of 3 years, and we believe. Even though by an others we say that since he came in lechatchila with permission, And even after 10 years, you have no chazaka. So over here, if he came in permission while the husband's alive, why do you have a chazaka? The difference is that a normal owner of the property owns it forever. Here, the husband only owned the property or the rights to the paytas, even though that's all he sold to this guy was the paytas, and now he continues, is only as long as the husband's alive. If the husband predeceases his wife, he no longer is the owner. So that's different. So it ended the original permission that he had ended. So now he has another 3 years. He has a me. He could have said, "I bought it directly from you." You sold it to your husband, and your husband sold to me. Mehem and his belief. Okay, Gufa, let's analyze. You cannot make a chazaka. Rav said you cannot make a chazaka because the woman didn't protest because rely on the husband. However, Dayane Goila Amru Marzikin, you could make a chazaka. They said the wife should have protested. You can't rely on your husband. Amar Rav, and Rav himself now turned around and said, "Loch the Goila." That a woman should have been moichel, which contradicts himself. You change your mind. You started off saying that a woman, but there's no chazaka on a woman's property because she relies on her husband, and then what do you call it? Dayani Goyla, which is Shmuel and Kana, they argue, and now you pass like them. It makes sense, like Rabbi Yosef said in the case of Rabbi Yosef. When do I agree that a woman that you have a chazaka by a woman is where you bought it while the husband was alive, you bought the rights to the paytas, and then you were there another 3 years, and you have a miga. You could have said I bought it directly from you. Instead, you're saying I bought it from the husband who bought it from you. It's a good chazaka with a time. Okay, we'll continue Wednesday, but after.